This is the oldest building in Cullercoats. It's called Cliff House, and it was built in 1768 by Captain Thomas Armstrong. Now, Captain Thomas Armstrong was a notorious scoundrel and pirate. He was almost virtually a pirate. He was a notorious smuggler, I should say. Now, his job was actually as a customs officer. So he was the main customs officer that patrolled this coast all the way from here down to Sunderland, and he was responsible for seizing ships that were involved in smuggling. Now, the main product that was smuggled in the 18th century was tea. Huge, vast amount of tea were coming into this country, and the duties from the East India Company imposed were very heavy. So there was lots of smugglers around trying to get tea onto shore during the middle of the dead of night. And Captain Thomas Armstrong, he had a boat called the Mermaid, and he would go out and seize these ships, but he was also take a lot of that product for that contraband for himself. Now, the interesting thing is that in this cottage here that he built himself, like I say, it's the oldest cottage in Cullercoats, and in his study they found a trapdoor, a secret trapdoor, and under that there was a tunnel leading into two cellars, two massive cellars, and a little jail cell where he could keep people that he'd captured, and a tunnel leading out under this sea wall here out onto the shore. So in the dead of night he could come and collect goods that he'd seized. That, now obviously that's all blocked up now, but what you've got to remember about Cullercoats is that in the 18th century, back then, Cullercoats was a very poor and isolated fishing village. It relied on fishing alone, and so that the whole village and the whole community, they relied on smuggling, and they needed smuggling to help supplement their income. So everyone in the village was actually involved in this. But anyway, Thomas Armstrong was like I said at the beginning, you know, he was a notorious pirate virtually at the end. He couldn't really come back on shore because he was convicted of so many crimes. So there you go. He's a very colourful character in the history of Tynemouth and in the history of Cullercoats. And this is, like I say, the oldest building here. Most of Cullercoats was bulldozed in the 60s and 70s especially, but we've still got this one Georgian piece of architecture.